Good morning. Today is Christmas Eve, the 24th of December 2024, and it's a half day trading today, so I wouldn't expect too much volume in the market, but I'm going to keep an eye on some key levels today, and I'm probably only going to trade for the first hour and then take the rest of the day off. Merry Christmas to everyone as well, and hopefully you have a nice few days off. So let's just crack on with the levels. Let's just look at what news could move the market today. Anything at 8:30, not much. So we've got hardly any news at all today. So nothing really to worry about. 10 AM, keep an eye on 10 AM just in case. Manufacturing index, and that's about it. Okay, so on my screen we're looking at the S&P 500 E-mini futures, and it's the 1 hour time frame. I prefer the 1 hour time frame because that's what gives me the best confirmation. And hang on, let's just open up my pen. And that's what I like to use to find my levels on: the hourly, the 4 hourly, and the daily. And then I use a lower time frame, the 15 and the 10 minute, to try and find the entry. I do go down to the 2 minute sometimes as well, depending on whether I'm looking at an A plus setup, or if it's not a A plus setup, then I'll probably use a 5 minute. Okay, so obviously we had the FOMC big sell off on Wednesday, and then we had continuation on Thursday through to Friday, and then we gave back almost 50% of the move. In fact, we came right up to this 618 on the fibs. So my fibs starts from there, that pivot high, all the way down to this pivot low here, and then we've got the 50%, which is that green line, which is kind of where we're hovering around, and we've got the 618. So definitely the algos are watching. This is an algo move down there, and the algos are obviously watching these levels as well, and you can see that because we came straight into the 618 and rejected it on Friday. I haven't quite got over it yet. So let's just look and see what levels we could see for today, just taking in the most recent pivots. So first and foremost, I do quite like, let's just go to the line tool, I do quite like this region here for a bounce. We've got the highs of Thursday, we've got the pullback on Friday, and basically it's this region there for a bounce. We could even consider it all the way down to yesterday's low, but I do quite like this 59.80. 6,000 as well, it's not far off, that's a psychological number, and you can see when we pulled above, well, we rejected 6,000 originally, then we pushed up, came back, where it was the ceiling, became the floor. It's a bit undecided there, it did try pushing through, there was no real follow through, and then we're holding above it, pulled back, and then we've just been consolidating sideways in the pre-market and the post-market. So what I do quite like is probably the bounce at the pre-market low area, which is this region here, 60.33. If we lose that area, break and retest short down into this region, we're watching for the bounce. Look at the volume as well, we've got a volume spike there, happens to be the area I'm watching for the bounce, so that's around 60.20, and or volume shelf, so 16.15, we've got that volume shelf. It's also the fibs fit 50% area as well, so keep an eye on that 60.20, 60.15 area for bounce. And then we've got a further volume shelf down here. It happens to be that other area we just talked about. So let's just draw it in. So this area here I quite like for the bounce, and that's around 59.80. Let's just get rid of these things here. So that's the area I'm watching for. And I like that because area confidence, we've got tops of candles, bottoms of candles, bottoms of these candles, and yesterday's low came into it, rejected it, and we can watch for the same. If we pull back down into that region again, I'll be looking for a bounce high. However, if we do lose yesterday's low, 59.65, we look for a break and retest short back down into this region here, which is our current area of demand. I think that's it. Keep it really simple. And one thing, if we do see a break and retest a pre-market high, which I always take, Then we've got a potential target up here, and we've got this area as our rejection point as well. So big area where we held. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times it came into that area, and you can see all that extra volume above as well. So there's a big volume shelf above. So this is a region to watch for potential rejection, and maybe if we extend this trend line out, we could potentially watch for it to pull back into this region up here. This is this region here as well. And what is that level? That is around 61.35, 61.40 for potential rejection. But I'll be watching this entire area for a rejection. And that's it. That's basically my game plan for today. And like I said, if nothing happens in the next hour, then I probably won't trade any further. It's Christmas Eve, and it's, you know, here in the UK it's already 2 PM, so it's, and the half day closes, I think it's 5 PM my time. I think the market closes at 1 today, so that's in 4 hours time, so that's 6 PM here in the UK. So don't expect much to happen today. Notice the volume. We had relatively large amount of volume on Friday and Thursday. Obviously that's the FOMC volume, and then yesterday was about a third of the volume, and I expect today to be a half of that volume as well. So one thing to note for next week as well, if we have reducing volume, then and we've got increase in price, so potentially there's a sign, there's a divergence there, and potentially we could be seeing a sign of weakness, and we may just give that all up before we reject back down. So that's ES. SPY is going to be very similar as well. SPY, watch for the breaking retest of pre-market high to continue this uptrend into this overhead volume shelf, and I prefer this region here only because of the volume shelf there. And then if we get above, we've got the point of control up here as well. So there's 2 areas to watch for rejection. I'm not sure about this area. I'll take a look at that. I'll zoom out in a minute and take a look at that one. Otherwise, if we're looking for a bounce, we do have a little bit of volume here, so let's keep an eye on this area, 591, 592 area for a bounce. And then we've got yesterday's low area as well, and that's it. We're pretty much in between areas watching for a bounce today. SPX should be the same levels we've been watching. How about that for a level there? Area confluence, top of the pivot yesterday, we're kind of coming into that area. Yesterday's high, Friday's high is that area as well. Yeah, pretty much no different. Let's keep an eye on those levels. So 6,000 is a key number. I'll be watching 6,000 for a potential reject. The reason I like 6,000 more than anything is because we've got the 200 moving average is curving over, coming into the 50 moving average, which has now dropped below the 200, so that's a bearish sign there. And we've got 6,000, which is a psychological number. So if we do get up into the 6,000 region, I want to watch that area for potential short on ES. So let's just put an alert in. Alert. Just so if we get up there, then if I'm looking for a short, then I can start looking for a short on ES if I'm not looking for one. NQ. Again, watch for the break and retest of pre-market high, pre-market low, and we've got a bounce point of here. Let's just mark that up. Reason I like that area, again, is the zone, the tops of that pivot, bottoms of that pivot. Oh, look at that, held that area on FOMC day, broke through, came back up, came close to retesting it. So let's keep an eye on yesterday's low for a bounce, 21,432 to 21,500, that region there. So this entire region I quite like for a bounce. It's a big area, so just keep an eye on that. Psychological number as well, 21,500. Break and retest over pre-market high. Maybe the retest of yesterday's high, that area there, if it pulls back. And then coming into overhead resistance. I'm not sure the volume's gone on here, but got an area of confidence at 22,200, and then 22,000 is a psychological number. So let's keep an eye on this region for a potential rejection, and you can see we've got a little bit here, we've got tops of pivots, bottoms of pivots, and we break and a little bit of a pullback into that area FOMC, but it didn't hold it very well, and we've yet to come back up to retest that area. We also have the 200 moving average curving over coming into that area, so potentially that could act as another confirmation if we stay below that. And that's it really. QQQ, same. I do like the rejection into this 528 area confluence, tops of pivots, bottoms of pivots. So NASDAQ will probably come into that area as well. So keep an eye on this region, 526 to 528 for the rejection. And then we've got another area of confluence. It's a volume shelf. Look at that big volume shelf there. So this area 530, and then if we get above that, we've got new all-time highs, which I don't reject new all-time highs, but I will look for maybe a lower high like that, and look for a rejection potentially around that area here. And in bounces, obviously we've got this area confluence there. Let's mark it out. I did tidy up the charts recently. We've got this region down here. In fact, that's about area. Tops of pivots, bottoms of pivots. So 501 to 500 psychological number. And we could keep an eye on Friday's low as well. Just not the only place I can see, is probably about there. In fact, I was looking at this volume shelf, tops and bottoms, pivots, and it happens to be the bottom of Friday as well. So let's move it up a bit, about there, exactly on that, and that works out exactly where the volume was. So we know where there's volume if we get back down there again. Crude oil, just one thing to note, everything's looking green in the pre-market today, which is good. Crude oil, are we putting in a bit of a bull flag, push up, come back down. So this kind of pattern, so maybe look for a break and we test a pre-market high long into the trend lines. Otherwise we can watch these regions at the bottom, yesterday's low, for a potential bounce. And we've got the point of control. Most amount of volume since July runs through this area, bottoms of pivots, tops of pivots, bottoms of pivots, tops of pivots. And notice how we're tightening up. If I draw that line in here, depends how you want to draw it, you know, we've got a few days we went through, and we've got this area here as well, we're tightening up. You know, if we put in a test, a low volume test here, notice a low volume here, low volume test when we break through, no follow through, came back out. Now we're putting in a bit of extra volume at the top, and we could be just pulling back. This could be just a bit of a bull flag we're watching, looking for the break and retest out of this area. So I'm not going to move the blue lines, they probably just move slightly, or maybe they're just old legacy lines from previous pivots, but it's kind of showing us the story and telling us the picture of where to look. Gold, again holding this daily trend line. Sure, let's have a look on the day. Let's just readjust that. The bounce area there, that's tops of those pivots, bottom of those pivots. So 2500, 2550, that area for the bounce on the daily. To put in a new high there, but we're looking a bit weaker, so let's go back to the hourly. Okay, so the only plays I can see is break and retest a pre-market low to break down through this trend line. Pre-market low short with targets previous levels, and then a break and retest over pre-market high into that area there, and this is our rejection area. So we've got this big area, we've got a volume shelf just above. So that's our volume shelf there, which happens to be along this line. Oh, that's the worst drawn line I can do. Let's draw it in along there. So we watch that area for rejection. We do have the point of control up here as well, which is a bit surprising because there seems to be less pivot points in that area. But keep an eye on hours at 270, 2700 I meant, so keep an eye on a psychological number so we can watch that area for rejection as well. And then RTY, bounce area I can see is back down here again, 22.20, where we bounced Friday. Otherwise there's not much really on there. We need to get above these pivots or below these pivots to see anything. So probably just watch break and retest a pre-market high, pre-market low. And obviously if we get up into this region, we can keep an eye on that region for rejection. Pivots there, pivots here. Not a great deal of volume though, so not too fussed about that one. And then finally YM, or finally before we do Bitcoin, we can probably draw a trend line on this. Look at that, that's a great downtrend that is. Gives us something to play with. You know, we haven't really broken that trend yet. If we come out above here, come back and retest, we could watch for a change of structure to that. But we're still in a downtrend. We couldn't get over this pivot here. We tried and failed. Maybe if we break over yesterday's high and pre-market high, both of them, and watch for a bounce, maybe into the trend line or out of that trend line, or pre-market low goes with the trend into the point of control area. We've watched yesterday's low, which is this point of control area as well, for a bounce. And now finally Bitcoin. Let's go to the daily. We're still holding this level we've talked about. I talked about this yesterday. We've been keeping an eye. That's why it's been drawn up for some time. We've been knowing about some 92,500. Is that right? 92,500 area for the bounce. Bounce there again. Was that yesterday? And are we putting in a head and shoulders pattern? Left shoulder, head. What's this side doing? Are we going to do something like that? Pull back down. If we are, then we look for the break and we test short. Or I'll be looking for top ups down here at this region. 70 is my next target really. Hard to go long, but we have finally caught up with a 50 moving average. We've caught up with a 20 moving average recently, and the only moving average we're going to catch up with now is the 200 moving average, and then I'll be looking for a bounce around this region. And then that's it. UK 100. Need to get out of this box. We've kind of been trading that zone now all year, so we really need to see something happen. Either we're going to lose this area here and look for the break and retest short, maybe a swing, or we get over this region here and we look for the break and retest long. And that's it really. Let's just quick look at ES. Let's just flick over to the order flow. So what am I looking at? So I'll keep this is the news for today, just as a reminder. I'll keep that open. That's an indicator I built, which also shows news on the chart as a horizontal line. So when the news is coming in, it gives you a warning that will flash up in the top corner as well. High volatility news at say 8:30 or 10 o'clock, and it shows you the line where it is as well. So if you're in a trade, it reminds you to get out of a trade. But this is for me to cross-reference as well. So cumulative delta is, it's not doing a great deal. We did have this big push up here, 9 o'clock, just after 9 o'clock. A little bit of a move on here, so it's looking more bearish. Notice how we're pulling back now, but we're holding the cumulative delta. So we've got some big buyers coming in. We're in positive numbers as well. So that means we've got a lot more aggressive buying than aggressive selling, and we can obviously see that with the price action as well. 9 o'clock, let's see where the volume, here we go, there's our big buyer there. So we've got an aligned point of control there. So you know, but that could be 60.46. We might expect to see the buyer come back at that area again. We did originally, pushed up, come back down to 108. There's nothing really to see other than this little bit of divergence, but it's not strong enough for me. It's pre-market volume and it's Christmas Eve volume as well, so I wouldn't expect to see too much. Again, we've got a point of control there. If we go left, we've got point of control, so that's a region to keep an eye on. But there's no orders. If you look on the bid. No large orders. I'm looking for orders over 400. So there's nothing. We've got a couple orders down here, and then some way down below as well. Yeah, I think just trade carefully today. It's probably going to be a very light day. Okay, that's pretty much it. Over the holidays, I'll probably try and do a couple of videos, maybe one for the year goals and one recapping this year, and maybe do an order flow. I think somebody asked in the order flow about learning about order flow, so maybe I'll just do a quick couple of videos on what I'm looking for in order flow as well. Is it Vincenz? If you're watching, I'll reply to your comment in a minute, but I'll probably do some videos on the order flow as well. Okay, well, wishing everybody a Merry Christmas. Remember, light day today, so trade safely. Try and finish the day with no trades or green. You don't want to go into Christmas red, and just go for those A+ setups. Okay, appreciate every person here. Go back to the main screen. Appreciate every one of you. Merry Christmas.